Yo, what's going on guys? It's I am Bertrude, welcome to the channel. If you're new, I make Elden Ring builds, that's my icon, come on down, welcome in, everybody's welcome at I am Bertrude. Just come on down. I make videos, I make builds, and I stick them up on my YouTube page. I've currently got about 48 builds. I know the thumbnail, the title says 50 build showcase, it just sounds better. I've got about 48 builds. We're going to carry on with the brand new series that I've started for my channel, where I'm bunching builds together into one video to show you different variations of a similar type of build. Today we're looking at all my scary builds, so get yourselves a cup of tea, put your feet up, relax, and get ready to enjoy the video. So we're going to start this video off with the absolute perfect build for this theme. It's my vampire build, and this is a rune level 40 build, quite a low level build, and it's very effective for the rune level it's at. On this build we've got 38 vigour, 21 strength, 25 dex and then 17 arcane. We've not got a lot of points into buffing damage on our weapons and stuff like that. It's all about having high vigour and health regeneration aspects to the build to make us very hard to deal with and make us very hard to kill. It's a perfect vampire build, as I said. We're using some health regeneration techniques. We've got the clinging bone claw weapons, the fist weapons, the clinging bones, and they're equipped obviously with lifesteal fist. So that's the first aspect of the build, that's going to be getting life back, getting vigour back from our enemies if we can land that. It's so stylish and it gives us health back from sucking on their blood just like a vampire would. We've also got the lucerne, and that's got blood tax on it, so if we land that Ash of War as well, that's going to give us some vigour back, some health, just like a vampire would. We're going to take their blood, feed off it and get ourselves healthy. And then on this build as well, we've also got the Blessed Dew Talisman equipped, so we're getting that slow health tick of regeneration constantly throughout the invasion. It's not a lot, it's not massively significant, but it all adds up together when you include the other aspects of the build that are stealing life. The Blessed Dew Talisman really does just make that extra little bit of difference with the build, and it just fits the theme. It's a vampire, it's health regeneration, we're drinking a load of blood and we're making ourselves strong. It's a really good build. This particular invasion that we're just starting now is quite a good example of how this build can be quite hard to kill. I follow the horse down onto this little ledge here. The summoner was waiting around the corner for a little sneak attack. I've no problems with that, it's all good, it's all good. But we're fighting in this very tight little space. Now I didn't want to back up from here. I thought, let's have it boys. Balls to the wall, let's just go for it in this tight little corridor. It makes for a really interesting fight. But you'll see they get some big hits on me. Look at our health there. Look at how low our health went. But then we'd managed to land the blood tax and we get a nice chunk of health back to carry on the fight. So we're mixing our flask of Crimson Tears, healing normally, into our Ashes of War, and we're just constantly kind of always getting little ticks of health back, and it's making it really hard for these two to finish us off. Even though we're fighting in a very tight space, we're taking a lot of big hits. You can see there the summon, we did enough dancing and weaving, enough bobbing and dipping, and the summon fell off the ledge. He was the real problem in this invasion. Now we can just take care of the horse. But this invasion, like I say, it's a really good example of being in a very hard situation against two, players who are doing a lot of damage to us, but using the kit that we're provided with, the kit that we put together for this build, we're able to keep our health topped up and make it very hard for them to actually finish us off. Starting this invasion with a clinging bone fist, lifesteal there on the summon, it just looks so cool. I just think it's the perfect move to put on a vampire build. When you latch onto someone like that, it's just one of the most stylish Ashes of War in the game. The clinging bone fist weapons, I think the fist weapons, aren't they, and not claws? I'm pretty sure the fist weapons, but the clinging bones, they're the main weapon on this build, but they don't do a hell of a lot of outright damage on their own. I've kind of got them on there more to make use of the lifesteal fist, and for the aesthetic of them being on a vampire build, I think they really do suit the build. But we've got the Morgoth's Curse Sword on the build as well, and that's on the build for when we need a bit more oomph, a bit more impact with the weapon. So if I'm in like a 2-on-1 like this and they're putting us under a lot of pressure, the clinging bone fists on their own probably would be quite difficult to make any real impact against these two. So we've got weapons like the Morgoth's Curse Sword, we've got the Lucerne as well, and they're there when I need to do a little bit more damage. So it really does cover us for all bases in terms of the weapons that we've got. Just on another note as well, the Morgoth's Curse Sword, I just think on this build it just looks absolutely perfect. I actually keep that in my left weapon slot, so when I'm not using it, it's always on display on our back, and I just think it just looks awesome. Not being used, it's just like sheathed on our back. I think it just looks awesome, ready and waiting. Just from a visual standpoint as well, I think it looks like a really good weapon that a vampire would actually use, and having it on our back on display, I think it just suits the build so much. It looks really menacing, and yeah, I just love the fashion. I think the fashion's really good on this build, and all the choice of weapons and stuff. The Ashes of War, it all flows together so well. So we're going with the same layout as last time for this video, guys. We're going to do 4 invasions with each build, and then we're going to tally those up at the end and do a bit of a rating. This is the last one for the vampire. You see, we start it off with a nice little lifesteal fist. This was one of those invasions that kind of everything just goes in our favour. Everything that I wanted to happen did happen. I played it quite well. I was quite pleased with how this one went. This is definitely a very strong build for rune level 40. Just the life regeneration aspect of it makes it very strong, but the weapons we're using as well, as I said, we're not really kitted into it in terms of our stats to like get a load of out and out damage, but it's got that bleed aspect. The Lucerne is blood infused, Morgoth's Curse Sword is obviously doing blood build up, so it does have a bleed aspect to it. This could have easily gone into the bleed build video that I did last time, but it's definitely suited to more of a scurry build. There's a lot of builds that you'll see in this series that could go into numerous different categories. You could easily say that Bloody Mary from the last video could have gone in scurry builds for this video, but that was definitely more suited to a bleed video. So that's it anyway, guys. Let's take a look at the ratings. So performance, this build is getting an A+. As I said, it's very strong for the rune level that it sits at. Fun factor is definitely S. It's such a good play style, mixing in the weapons, looking for those lifesteal fists. It's just a really fun build. Fashion, definitely getting an A+. I love the fashion on this build. I love the dark theme, and I love that we've got Morgoth's Curse Sword always visible on our back. Overall, really strong build. Let's take a look at the next one. Okay guys, the next build in the Scurry Crew video is the Thing. Now the Thing is a rune level 200 build. It's quite a high level build. This one's got 60 vigour, 60 strength. We need a lot of endurance because we're using some heavy weapons. We've got 45 endurance, 37 faith, and then we've also got 28 arcane on this build. This is a very hard hitting build. We're using those big colossal weapons. We've got 2 Troll's Hammers on this one. So if you get caught in those big attacks, you're going to be you're going to feel it. They're going to do some damage. They're really good weapons. As I said, I love colossal weapons on this build. Not on this build, just in this game in general. I love colossal weapons, but they do suit this build in particular. The Troll's Hammers really suit the theme of the build, and the theme of the build is that, you know, it's called the Thing. and this build is inspired by some of my favourite kind of monster films. I'm a big horror film fan, and I've always absolutely loved creature feature films. I love like alien films and monster films, like, you know, all the typical ones, the Alien films, the Predator films. I love A Quiet Place. I like the is it Korean or is it Japanese? I think it might be Korean film called The Thing as well. That's like a really good monster film. Mimic, there's a really good film called Mimic that was out ages ago. I love that film. But yeah, it's just kind of like a homage to some of my favourite types of horror films, which are monster films. Oh, Jeepers Creepers. Did I mention Jeepers Creepers? That's one of my all-time favourites. But this build is kind of, like I say, it's taken inspiration from those. It's meant to be kind of like, you know, a creature from the Black Lagoon. It's got that monster mask on. And that's kind of what we're going for with this build. All of the incantations that we're using on this build kind of play into that as well. He's got the big beast claw incantation, he's got the dragon incantations where we're actually going to be changing into a dragon to try and do some big damage with those. And yeah, I just think it's quite a good build in terms of being quite menacing and quite scary. The fashion doesn't really lead into it too much. As I said, we've got the monster mask on, which really does suit the build really well. But initially on this build I had the Morgoth's armour. You know, the one that looks like streaky bacon. I can't really remember exactly what it's called, but it's a lot lighter armour, and that did play into the theme of the build really well, and a lot better than the armour that we're currently wearing. But I was finding that I was taking a little bit too much damage, so I knew I kind of had to make a little tweak to the fashion just to give ourselves a little bit more survivability. So I've gone with a different armour. I've kept the same mask, put some different armour on. It definitely made us a bit more survivable, but it did take away from the scary aspect of the build a little bit. But I'd say it was a change that was worth it in the end, just for the gameplay. But yeah, it's a good build. It puts out a lot of damage. The Troll's hammers are naturally fire infused, so in our flask we're using the fire buff tier, you know, for a bit more damage. And then we've also got the the Moog spear, sorry, as a quick swap in our second weapon slot. So that's there as well to do some big area damage when we need it. I don't tend to rely on that too much. I kind of whip it out for style points when I think I can get away with it. But it's there. It's another aspect of the build that we can use. And it's just a really well-rounded build. Quite slow gameplay. The colossal weapons are slow, so you've got to kind of be a little bit clever about how you use them. But the Troll's hammers have got Troll's Roar on, and that is one of my favourite Ashes of War in the game. I absolutely love it. It's so good for crowd control. And on this build, one of the techniques that I try to use is that I try to use Troll's Roar on the Troll's hammers, which knocks the players down, and then I try and rush forward and try and get one of the dragon incantations off. Whether that's the big Roar incantation, another big area damage incantation, or whether it's the big dragon chomp. Either one of those I try to follow up from the Troll's Roar, and it can be really effective when it works, but you've got to get your timing spot on, and you've got to hope that they don't roll away before you can hit them with one of the dragon incantations. But as I said, it's a really fun playstyle when it works. I do love invading at level 200. Level 200 I think is definitely one of my favourite invasion levels. You get invasions all over the map. You do tend to get a lot of natural kind of organic invasions at this level, but the thing is everyone's doing crazy damage, so you really do have to think about the fashion choices. Like I said, the fashion did take a hit on this build because it was taking too much damage. Everyone's got crazy builds, so you do have to think about that. But overall, I do love level 200. So let's take a look at the ratings for this one. So performance, this is coming in at B+. It's very strong if you manage to get the gameplay right and you know everything goes in your favour in the fight. But the colossal weapons are a little bit slow and can leave us open for some shots. Fun factor, it's a B. It's a good build, it's quite fun, but as I said, it's quite a slow paced build. Fashion is a C+. I did have to make some tweaks to the fashion and the fashion rating did suffer, but we've still got that mask on, which is the main part of this build overall. So the next build in this Scurry Crew video is the Butcher. Now talk about a build being absolutely perfect for the category that it's in. There is no other category that the Butcher would ever fall into. He is the Scurry category. He is this category. There's nothing else. He could have been in a Scurry video on his own, and he just would have been all you ever needed. He is a mass murdering maniac. He's an absolute killing machine. All he wants to do is inflict torture and pain on his victims. He's an absolute psychopath, and he is the ultimate Scurry build. There's a bit of lore behind this build, and that is he was a butcher's son when he was young, and his father and his family was just making an honest living in the lands between, working hard, but he was subject to seeing all of these animals come into his father's butchery, constantly being slaughtered, constantly being chopped up and cut up for the meat, and there's blood everywhere all the time, and it weren't anything he was ever shy to seeing. He was always very keen to get in there and see his father work in the butchery, so he did kind of have a lot of exposure to that kind of thing, death basically at a young age, so he was very aware of everything that was going on. Now one day when his father was working in the butchery, a white masked warrior, came wandering, and this white mask had some really bad intentions, and he actually slaughtered the butcher's mother and father in front of him, hung them up, hung, drawn and quartered, left their entrails swinging. It's quite a dark story. If you look back at the last video that I released for the Butcher, there's a poem I wrote that accompanies that video, telling you all about the lore of the build. But basically he saw his mother and his father executed brutally in front of him, and then since then he took up his father's weapons, 2 big axes for chopping up meat, 1 big colossal great curved sword for chopping up meat. He took his father's dirty bloody apron, and he set out on his own journey of revenge. He wanted to find that white mask who killed his mother and his father, but in his revenge journey, the killing and the torture and all his dark intentions, they're just too covert, and he became a mass murdering psychopath. He's killed plenty of white masks since that fateful day. They all just merged together, and now everyone's a white mask. All he sees is the white mask. If you come across him, you better run, because he's not going to hold back, and he's going to make your life a living hell until he kills you. So yeah, you can see why he definitely fits the theme of this build category perfectly. But in terms of a build, it's very effective. We've got a lot of vigour, we've got some good defences and stuff like that for this level. This is actually a rune level 40 build. We've got 35 vigour, and we're quite hard to deal with. It's quite a slow paced build, again, just like the thing is. It's not doing some out and out massive damage. The whole kind of theme behind this one, the whole game plan, is that we're very hard to deal with. We're going to get in your face, we're going to be quite hard to kill, and we're going to kind of just outlast you in the fight. We're going to make things difficult. We've got the spark aromatic on this build as well, and we've got the pulley crossbow in the offhand, so we're going to be trying to do a lot of explosive damage, and then when we get you low we can switch to the pulley crossbow to try and finish you off in style, which we do manage to do quite often on this build, and it's just really satisfying. But as I said, we're not doing a hell of a lot of damage with our weapons. It's kind of just a war of attrition, and it makes for some really fun invasions. It's a lot more effective than you might think. The sacrificial axes, again, not doing the most damage on their own, but I've got endure on them, and I'm going to get in your face and I'm going to bring the fight to you. So yeah, that's kind of just what it's all about. The Butcher just loves fighting. He loves cutting people up, he loves chopping some flesh off, severing some limbs. It's just a lot of fun. You can see there we've also got the roped fire pot, so explosives are a big part of this build. When you look at the sparked aromatics, the roped fire pots, the pulley crossbow with the explosive bolts, yeah, he just loves fire, and he loves blades and chopping people up. Really effective build, like I said, it's not massively impactful, but we're going to make, we're going to bring it to you basically. That's the game plan. So performance, it gets an A-. As I said, it's quite a slow paced build, but it is very effective. If we had some more hard hitting Ashes of War, maybe it would be an A+, but for now it's an A-, and I'm happy with that. It's really good. Fun factor is an A, and fashion is an A. It's a really fun build, as I said. You can have some really long invasions with this build, and it really does turn into a war of attrition. And I think the fashion is spot on. It really does look like a mass murdering butcher maniac. The very last build for this video, guys, is none other than El Diablo, the Dark Lord, the unclean one, the big bad boy himself, the ultimate red man, really, if you think about it, the absolute ultimate red man. It's the devil, it's Satan, and I absolutely love this build. It's a lot of fun, it's very quirky, you know, it's definitely just a character build, but the kit we've built around it, yeah, I think it's perfect for what it is. It's a rune level 60 build. This one's rune level 60. Our main stats are that we've got 40 vigor, and then it's a faith build. We've got 40 faith. We're doing a lot of fire damage on this one. We're using 2 Inquisitor Girandoles that they do fire damage, and they've also got a little bit of bleed build up as well. We're using the Fire Boost Flask in our Flask of Wondrous Physic to increase our damage. We've also got the Canvas Talisman that boosts our incantations as well, so we're going to be getting some good damage on that one. But this build is all about the character, it's all about the kit that we've built around the character. It's Satan, so obviously we've got some big fire incantations. You can see the Sergio Flame. What a cool way to finish an invasion. What a stylish way to finish someone off. Sergio Flame, let's be honest, it's pretty terrible. But we've got it on the build to do exactly what we just did, and that's finish people off when they're one shot in style. And what a way to kill someone, honest to God, it's so cool. We've got the big old explosive Giant's Flame take there. You can see we just absolutely nuked 2 summons, and now the host is left to deal with Satan. And then we've also got Inescapable Frenzy on the build, which I think just fits the character of Satan perfectly. Latching onto someone, sucking the souls out through their eyeballs, and then dragging them down to hell for an eternity in the flames. You know what I mean? It's just a perfect incantation for the build. Fashion wise, you know, we've not got the most defences on this one. We're using the cloak there. Leaves us a little bit open to some damage, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Some builds don't really matter in terms of that, you know. I could never have used anything else on this one. As I said with the thing earlier, at level 200, how did that grab not catch him, by the way? I don't know how that grab didn't latch onto him there. But as I said, the thing at level 200, using some lighter armour up at level 200 is a bit of a death sentence. Everyone's doing so much damage. But at this kind of level, you can definitely get away with it a little bit more. And as I said, I just couldn't change the fashion on this build, even if someone paid me. It just fits too well. He's just Satan, and Satan needs a big cloak and some horns. That's just how it is. Oh, you can see there as well, part of the kit for this build is that we're also using the Regal Omen Burn. Now that's a really cool little bit of kit. It's a really good thing to kind of weave into your plan of attack. It's that big explosive charge out your chest of dark energy, dark orbs that track our targets and chase them down. And again, you know, I just think it fits the theme really well. We're Satan at the end of the day, so releasing some of our minions of hell out like that. That's what they are, the minions of hell, the Regal Omen Burn. I release my minions, they go and chase our targets down, and that gets them distracted for a little minute, so I can then either rush in, try and close the gap, or maybe I could throw a Giant's Flame Tatey out there, see if we can catch them out that way. It's just a really nice little bit of kit to add to this build to play around with. It's just really fun. It's a really fun play style. It's got 2 spears, as I said, the Inquisitor Girandoles. Double spears generally is quite strong, to be fair. You know, it's dual spears in it, and they've got a bit of bleed build upon them, so it's quite strong really. But it just fits the build so well. I just think the weapons, they're just made for Satan, aren't they? They're absolutely made for Satan. I love it. I love this build. It's so much fun, honestly. It's really good. But this invasion, there we go. That's the summon taken care of. Now it's just down to me and this host swinging his katana. So all I've got to do, bob and weave, mix in some attacks, and it's going to be done deal pretty quickly. Last little heal up there, looking for a grab, and we actually get him on this one. Inescapable Frenzy. Suck his soul out through his eyeballs. Now we just chase him down, and we finish the job. That's the last invasion for Satan. Let's take a look at the ratings. So performance is getting a B. It's quite strong, you know, he's not a bad build by any means or stretch of the imagination. He's got a good bit of kit, but as I said, we are vulnerable to a little bit of damage, so it gets a B, but it is a very good build. Fun factor is a nest. It's so much fun. So much different things going on with the kit. It's a hell of a lot of fun. And fashion, no doubtedly, there's no doubt about it. The fashion is S tier. I mean, look at us, we're just Satan. And that is the end of the video, guys. That is my 4 scary builds for this one. 4 of my very favourite build, these ones. I absolutely love them, especially the Vampire, Satan and the Butcher. I love them very much. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you all next time.